But before we go on, I have to warn you, what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, and it is not for the faint of heart. So if you want to turn back now, I understand. But if you're ready for the truth, if you can handle the truth, then please pay attention because you'll never see the world the same way after hearing this story. Hi, I'm Eric Thompson, and what I'm about to reveal to you is an incredibly shocking but true story about what I accidentally uncovered about the pineal gland and what its true purpose is. I'm what most people would consider a pretty normal guy. I have a wife named Angela, a son Carl, and our beloved dog, Howard. I grew up in Midwest America, which is where we still reside to this day. I seemed to have a pretty good knack for science while in school and ended up getting a scholarship to go to college, where I studied to become a dentist. I've always considered myself to be a very rational, science-minded person. So, if you would have told me a year ago I'd be telling you this story today about the pineal gland, quantum physics, and manifestation, I would have laughed aloud. You see, sometimes something seemingly insignificant can alter the course of your life in ways you would not believe. Just like how you happened to stumble across this page today, that seemingly insignificant clicking of your mouse button may end up changing your life forever. For me, it was just another day at work that started my journey. I was on my way to my dentist office in the morning hours, just like I always was, Monday through Friday. We had more patients to see than normal, so I was going to be pretty busy, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary besides that. I guess you could consider me lucky, because I actually enjoyed my work. One of the things I liked most about being a dentist is that you get to meet people from all walks of life and get to know them over time. Of course, there will always be the patients that you don't really enjoy seeing once in a while too, and today was one of those days. It was this patient of mine, who let's just call Steve for patient confidentiality. Steve and I just didn't see eye to eye on nearly every topic out there. Sports teams, religion, politics, TV shows, and even medicine. You see, Steve has been coming to my dental clinic for maybe 10 years now, so we've gotten to know each other fairly well. This time was no different, but for some reason I was particularly annoyed with him today. You see, he was always talking about natural remedy this and homeopathic that. He was what I would describe as a New Age type of person, someone who was into meditation, yoga, taking and creating his own natural supplements, and apparently incense because he usually smelled like it. It seemed like he had a natural cure for everything, and medicine had little to no value to him. I, of course, was not trained that way and believed in medicine, and what I've been taught going to school for all those years. When it came time to clean Steve's teeth, he said he didn't want any fluoride treatment this time. "That stuff is toxic, Dr. Thompson. I have no idea why dentists still administer that stuff in this day and age," he replied. You see, this is how almost all of his visits went. Usually it was some weird tinfoil hat conspiracy, and we'd spend the entire visit going back and forth about it. This time, though, I was particularly annoyed because he was basically insulting my intelligence. I was the dentist, not him, and he was lecturing me on what I do. "Steve, that's ridiculous. Where did you get such a crazy idea? Fluoride has been used to help prevent tooth decay for as long as I can remember," I said. Then he brought up how there is a warning label on toothpaste containing fluoride, saying to contact poison control if you swallow any. So then I said, "Yes, Steve, but almost anything is bad for you if you take too much. The same thing could be said about taking baby aspirin. Well, why are they adding it to the water if it says to call poison control if you take too much of it on a toothpaste label? That stuff is more toxic than lead. Steve, it's safe. Trust me." "But Dr. Thompson, with all due respect, there was a paper published by Harvard University talking about how fluoride lowers the IQ in children," he said. "Steve, come on. Where did you hear that nonsense from? Some conspiracy website?" I was starting to really get annoyed with him at that point, when he said, "Tell you what, when you have some spare time, you can read it for yourself. And if I'm right about this, can I have my next visit be free?" "Okay, sure, Steve. You've got yourself a deal." He got out of the chair and got ready to head out as he was smiling. "See you in 6 months, Steve. And don't forget your credit card," I said jokingly as he left. While my wife was out of town, I had some free time on my hands, and I couldn't stop thinking about what Steve had said to me. I decided to pour myself a nice glass of red wine and hop online to do a bit of my own research. I was sure within 1 minute I'd find out that he was mistaken. After a few minutes of searching, I found the study he was talking about. Sure enough, it was a Harvard study, listed right on their own website. That's odd, I thought to myself. I wonder why I've never heard of this, I murmured. The conclusion of the study said that children that drank fluoridated water could have their IQ drop by 7 points versus children who drank non-fluoridated water. 7 points is actually pretty significant. One of the other alarming things I read was fluoride seems to fit in with lead, mercury, and other poisons that cause chemical brain drain. This really piqued my interest. How could this be true? So I started digging. I came across not one, not two, but 27 other peer-reviewed papers talking about the harmful effects of fluoride in our water supply and in dental practice. I was starting to get really worried. Had everything I'd been taught been a lie, or perhaps some kind of half-truth? While there is some evidence that in small amounts it can help prevent tooth decay, there is seemingly an enormous amount of evidence showing how bad it can be for our health. Now, I know you're wondering what this all has to do with your pineal gland and your ability to connect to higher consciousness, right? Well, you're going to find out in just a moment, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be shocked. When you realize how easy it truly is to create a life where you're healthy, wealthy, confident, and happy by interfacing with the universe using your pineal gland, you're going to be a bit upset that you didn't discover it earlier. You see, after I started reading those papers, I still did not want to admit I was wrong. Admitting I was wrong could potentially mean admitting that I had harmed some people indirectly, and that what I had learned in school was wrong, or possibly even a lie. So I began frantically searching for things to disprove what I had read. But what I found next was even more disturbing. The Environment Protection Agency, EPA, labels it as toxic waste. And I found out that it is used in things such as pesticides and even rat poison. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, labels it as a drug. So I thought to myself, if it's labeled as a drug, why is it being forced on practically over 90% of the U.S. population without their consent? Last time I checked, you have to get someone's permission to administer a drug to them, especially one that is labeled as hazardous waste by the EPA. Fluoride is also now being linked to other health issues besides lowering IQs in children, like low testosterone in men, reproductive damage, hormonal issues in women, thyroid damage, which can result in weight gain, and also many other issues as well. I guess Steve was right. This stuff is more toxic than lead. Why would they do something like this? I couldn't understand it. By this point, I had spent nearly the entire weekend researching this stuff when I stumbled across some old military documents talking about how one of the worst figures in history, Adolf Hitler, added fluoride to the water in the Jewish death camps. And I'm sure it wasn't because he was concerned for the health of their teeth. I felt sick to my stomach. I need to get to the bottom of this. There was only one person I could think of that may know the answer to what was going on here, and I was seeing him next week. My family and I were invited to a family friend's birthday party. In order to keep things private, as you'll see why I need to do in a second, let's just call him Mike.